Hello, everyone, and welcome to this evening of music and meditation. We're really glad that you've all joined us for this experience. Uh, this presentation is being brought to you by Sahaja Yoga. Music plays a really important part in Sahaja Yoga. It's a way to make a contact with the subtle within us, whether you call it the spirit or whatever term you like to use for it. It's a reality inside ourselves that sometimes gets covered up with our material life, and music is a way to make a connection to that spirit inside us without using our brains. It's a direct connection. Some of us who've been practicing Sahaja Yoga for some time know that the music has an effect on the subtle system within us, with the chakras that we're going to talk about tonight. It affects those and brings them back into balance. And particularly effective is Indian classical music. And we're going to talk about that this evening. By way of introductions, we're very fortunate to have Stephen Day with us today to play for this music experience. Steve is someone who has dedicated his life to music with the encouragement of the founder of Sahaja Yoga. He's dedicated his life to spreading those vibrations around the world. He's a award-winning composer and storyteller, and he's traveled the world combining music and meditation. And he's been performing, and some of his compositions have been included in feature films and TV shows. So later on, we're going to hear from Steve. And just to introduce myself, my name's Alan Richards. I've been practicing Sahaja Yoga for quite a long time, for most of my life, in fact. So the program for this evening is that I'm going to give a brief overview, introduction to yoga and meditation. And then Steve is going to have an experience where we focus on the chakras one by one and use music to enlighten those centers. And after that, we will have a more looser question and answer session. We'll have some discussion. And at that point, we'd really be happy if anyone has any questions or would like to join into the discussion. If you would like to put your name in the chat and your question, and then we'll try to address it in the session. And then at the very end of tonight, Steve will play a song for us. So to begin with, let's talk about meditation and yoga. Sahaja Yoga, the name Sahaja means spontaneous or inborn. It's something that everybody has inside themselves. But if, like me, you were born in the West, you may not be very familiar with all these terms. People born in India may be more familiar with the diagram showing the subtle system, but the goal is the same for all of these yogas. That's to make a connection. The word yoga means union. So the goal is the same, and what is discussed as the benefits that people look for from getting yoga, practicing yoga, that your life comes into balance, that any health problems start improving, the relationships improve, that you're able to deal with stress and the sort of things that we have to deal with in our day-to-day life. You deal with that stress much more easily, and it's something that you can do for yourself. So these are all things that benefits that come from practicing Sahaja Yoga, and it's becoming much more of a mainstream thing these days. Doctors are recommending people to practice some meditation. Meditation is more of a state than something that you do. Meditation means being in a state where your thoughts have subsided. So this is like a state that you might remember from childhood, when as a child you would play, you would enjoy, but you weren't constantly thinking about what you needed to do next or what you had just done. So you're in the present, as they say. And this is a state that happens when this system inside us is activated. We're going to experience that this evening. And when the Kundalini reaches up to this level, just above the eyebrows, that's the point at which this thoughtlessness, this ability to be in the present is developed. And the goal of yoga is to stretch that out into longer periods of time. And with practice, of regular practice of this meditation, you can achieve it easily. So Sahaja Yoga was founded in 1970 by Srimataji Nirmala Devi. It is a very simple technique. She taught us that it's built inside us. It's something we all have. And as such, it can't be paid for. It's something that is not a philosophy. It's not something you can get from books. It's an experience, something you have to let it happen to you. It's not an institution or a business. It's something that we all have inside ourselves, that with a little bit of knowledge, really not too much, you can get to a point where you can use it to make improvements to your life. So next slide, please. So this is the subtle system that I was talking about. And this type of diagram is not something unique to Sahaja Yoga. This has been known about in India. But the difference with Sahaja Yoga is that it's a very easy practice. This is something that doesn't require tremendous discipline or dedication to make a difference. This is something that can be, in the past, somebody looking for this yoga would have to dedicate their life and discipline themselves. This is something that can be achieved easily, and this is the technique that Srimataji taught to thousands of people all over the world. And really all that's required is a openness and a desire to see whether it works, as an honest scientific examination. Is this working for me? So this system represents the chakras. Energy centers is another name for those. And each of those energy centers controls certain aspects of our being. So these are like building blocks that make us up, both in the physical sense, in our emotional sense, and in the spiritual sense. So what's represented here are 7 chakras and 3 channels. So the 3 channels are in the spine, and the left channel represents our emotional side, the right channel represents our physical action side, and the center channel represents our evolution. So these building blocks each have certain qualities, certain physical qualities, certain emotional qualities, and certain spiritual qualities. And then in the base of the spine, shown inside that triangle representing the sacrum bone, there is a spiral drawn which represents an energy called Kundalini. This is a residual energy within us, a desire to understand ourselves, a desire to make a connection with life, to understand that there's more to life than just living and getting insurances, all of those material things. So this is an innate desire within us, and this can be awakened. When it's awakened, it rises up through all the chakras above it. And as it passes through those chakras, it brings those chakras back into balance, because in our day-to-day life, we encounter things that are going to push our chakras off to one side or the other, and this brings it all into balance. So in a way, the benefits that are meant to come from yoga, of improved health and better emotional state, better relationships, all those benefits are a result of the chakras, of these building blocks within us, coming back into their proper alignment and proper condition. Because for the Kundalini to rise, the chakra needs to be brought back more or less to the center. So we mentioned the 3 channels, the left channel being our emotional side, the right channel being our active side. Most of us have a tendency to be a little bit more to one side or the other. We're either more passive, recessive, introverted, or we're more active, assertive, extroverted type people. And that's okay. It's good for there to be diversity in the world, but we need to keep things within certain boundaries in order for this system to work. So just quickly to mention some of the qualities of these chakras to give you an idea. The base one, the pink color at the base of the spine, represents innocence and wisdom. The yellow one at the bottom of the big circle represents creativity and knowledge. The green one in the center of the big circle is our sense of contentment, it's nourishment, it's everything that supports us in life, obviously physically to do with our digestion. Our sense of peace comes from this center. The one above that, the heart center, has the qualities of the heart, of being open-hearted, loving, courageous, big-hearted. All of those qualities are associated with that chakra. And then physically, that chakra is associated with breathing, the heart, the lungs. The next center up in the neck is to do with communication. It's our connection with people. So connected with the throat, eyes, ears, nose, and communication. The center in the head, and you'll notice here the channels cross over so that the left channel crosses over onto the right side of the head and vice versa. That center where that crossing happens has the quality of forgiveness. And when that chakra, when the Kundalini reaches that chakra, that's when meditation happens. That's when this state of thoughtlessness that is something you might remember from childhood, but athletes talk about being in the zone, musicians talk about flow or just being present. And it's a state of not at all being in any kind of trance. You're absolutely alert and aware. In fact, you're probably more aware than you normally would be when this chakra is reached. And that's the point where this thoughtlessness may last for a couple of minutes at first, but with time it can be stretched out. And that thoughtlessness brings a sense of joy to us. So then the last chakra, represented by the lotus diagram, is the very top of the head. This is the point of connection or union. So not shown on this diagram, but I'll quickly mention it, that each of our fingers and our hands is connected to one of those chakras. So just for example, our forefingers, left and right, are connected to the throat center. So we can use what we feel while we meditate as a way of diagnosis of what's happening in our chakras. If everything is working well, then we'll feel calm inside and we'll feel a coolness in our hands. If there's a particular blockage on any one of the centers, then you're going to feel like a tingling or a little bit of heat in the relative finger. And the left side represents, our left hand represents everything to do with our left side or the emotional aspects of the chakras, and the right hand represents the right side and everything to do with the more physical aspects of the chakras. So that's just a very quick overview. Again, this may be completely new to you, or it may not. It's just something to give a go, just honestly as an experiment to see if this is something that benefits from you. If everything works, it's been our experience that you feel good, you feel lighter afterwards, you feel better, and you can even see that in other people. You can see it in their faces. So if that's this is just a very, very short introduction, but this is an experience. So let's try an experiment in our experience of focusing on each chakra one by one, and Steve is going to lead us through that with the help of some music. So as we go through, we'll listen to Steve playing music that's associated with each of these chakras, and just try to, as you go through this experience, you should sit comfortably. You shouldn't be strained. You shouldn't be strained in your body. Your muscles should relax. Try to take a few deep breaths. Let your shoulders drop. And as we listen to the music, just try to keep your attention inside. Just try to see what you're feeling. And if you find that your thoughts are wandering off, try to pull yourself back into listening. And it's an experiment and an experience. And with that, I'll hand over to Steve. When you're ready.
Good afternoon, evening, night, and morning, everybody. I know we have listeners from all over, and it's great to hear from you. Encourage you all to let us know where you're from in the chat. Happy International Yoga Day. And if you have any sound issues or anything's too loud or too soft, do let me know in the chat, or let us know in the chat. Don't be shy. So this evening, again, thank you, Alan, for the introduction to all these different aspects that happen in a program like this. There are multiple dimensions, I guess one could say: yoga, music, different instruments, and different qualities of the music. So in this case, we're going to go through the chakras, and we're going to introduce a few ragas. And I'm just, there we go. That little beep there, I've got this new timer, so anybody behind the scene little look in here. We've got this new timer that I really love. Let's see if it works. So each chakra has a raga associated with it, and I'm going to go through most of those up till the Sasrara, and then I'll play. I'll do my best to guide you vocally, but mostly it will be with the sarod. I won't say too much because the microphone it either can be placed closer to my voice or closer to the sarod, and I won't say too much in terms of the actual chakras. I think most of you know how they work and where they are. So, but very quickly, I'm going to start at the Muladhara, the base, and then play a little bit on the Muladhara. It's a basic scale called Bilaval, and then up to the Swadhisthana and yellow, and then green. It's called. I'm going to play the void. So Rag Melkons, it'll be Rag Yaman for those keeping track on the Swadhisthana. Then at the heart chakra, Rag Durga, so for the center heart in particular. And the Vishuddhi, I'm going to do something slightly different. I've actually blended ragas together into songs. So this is going to be a blending of Gorak Kalyan and Rag Durga. And then Rag Bhupali for the Agnya. And then Rag Darbadi for the Sasrara. And that, when we're in the Sasrara, we'll just be meditating, and I'll play a little longer, piece a little longer. So, and again, you won't hear my voice too loud. I'll say a few things, but mostly sarod. I'll just try to indicate when we're moving without actually moving the microphone. I'm going to move it back to sarod now, and hope that you can all follow along. We're just going straight up the chakras from the base, and as you hear, I'll leave a little gap in time when I change, and then I'll mention that. Okay, so here we go. Rag Yaman at the Swadhisthana level. That's the yellow chakra, the second chakra, Rag Yaman, and it is Swadhisthana. Area, which is just the big large circle green area in your body called the void, and we're going to play Rag Malkonts. Rag Durga, the heart chakra. The Vishuddhi level, this is Rag Gorak Kalyan. Agnya level is Rag Bhupali. At the Sahasrara level, at the very seventh chakra, the pinnacle of our evolution and what we've been seeking for lifetime after lifetime, is his Rag Dadabadi.
Thank you, Steve. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
So we would love for this to be more of an interactive session. And so, in addition to putting your name and where you're from in the chat, if you have any questions or would like be part of the discussion, you can put your question there. In previous sessions, we've talked about sarod and this amazingly complex instrument. But today, our desire was to talk a little bit about, we know that uh, we know from experience that the Indian classical music touches the chakras. It has an effect, not exclusively, because Western classical music, Mozart can have the same effect. But we wanted to take this chance to talk with Steve about what it is about Indian classical music that he thinks makes that difference, and how music can help us in our spiritual evolution. So anyone on the chat, if you have any questions in that area, that would be great. What kind of music do you think helps you in your spiritual evolution? Helps you in your seeking to find meditation? What kind of music is it jazz? Is it Indian music? Indian music can be a little inaccessible at first. It's amazingly subtle and complex, and if your ear's not tuned to it, it may be difficult. But maybe through practicing this meditation and being listening to the music in a thoughtless state, you can appreciate it more. So those are some of the things we wanted to talk about. So put your questions in the chat, and I'll start off with asking Steve what he thinks are, how does it feel different to play a recognized Western tune? And I know there's no hard boundaries, and you were mixing them up as we heard today. Um, how does it feel different to play a recognized Western tune that most people would know here versus a raga?
It depends on the instrument. And when I'm playing on sarod, it doesn't matter too much what I'm playing because the sarod has that beautiful sound that kind of encompasses all. So I think that what happens though when I do play a melody that is related to one of the ancient bhajans, like something from Maharashtra or devotional bhajans, and in India we call it bhakti. Those are very special. The last piece I played, the last little snippet I played of a melody was called Binati Suniye. And so I do feel when I play a piece like that, I feel an extra dimension, especially with the sarod, a dimension of bhakti, which there's no real translation to the word bhakti in the West. I guess we could call it devotion, but that kind of conjures up some odd feelings amongst Western people. So it's just a feeling in the heart of a deep reverence. I think reverence could be a word. Reverence is a good word. And I think that I didn't feel that reverence as deeply as I did when I went to India for the first time. I was only 21, but we stood before these caves that had been carved out in the name of Shiva and Sri Buddha for centuries. I mean, people worked, for centuries on these. One father would pass it on to a son, and the son would pass it on to the next generation. And just in absolute, their whole lives were dedicated to creating these incredible monuments to these great, powerful gods. And so there's a certain reverence that comes with that, and it's time honored and it's deep, a depth. So I would say that would definitely be present when I'm playing a traditional raga, or something like a raga or a bhajan or a deep devotional tune. And when I play something like We Three Kings, there's a bit of that too, because that's very time honored. But that conjures up a feeling of the three kings traveling on the road to bring gifts, and this is one of the Christmas carols, to bring gifts to Jesus. So that takes you back a couple thousand years, and that also gives us a sense of kind of time honor and depth of time. And and then I played a more recent tune, Stairway to Heaven. And I mean, of course, that's what now, 40, 50 years? I lose track, 1970, 50 years, 50 couple years. So, of course, time wise, it hasn't been around for as long. But yet, I love the way that there's a tie in between all three of those. And the tie is, of course, the raga, which is Rag Dadabadi. And whether the artists who came up with those melodies knew it or not, they were tying into something that is ancient and that is encompasses all, and it is the Rag Dadabad, which is for the Sasrara. And I think that it's ominous and incredible that when we connect to the eternal in our meditation, in our inner beings, that we can then connect to an incredible amount of knowledge and music and depth within ourselves. And that I find awe-inspiring.
I think it's fascinating how you can touch your, like they say, touch your heart or touch your spirit or touch your soul with music. And I guess when we're looking to have music that'll help with our meditation, instrumental music makes sense because you don't want to have words, you're trying to be thoughtless. You're not trying to get wound up with anything that gets your heart rate up, and you're also not trying to sink into a sentimental emotional state. So you're looking for balanced music, usually instrumental, and a lot of things could fall into that category, right?
Yeah, I think that as soon as we put the kind of dronal harmony to it, which I actually can use also as a background in one of my devices, I can set up that as well. I didn't today for some reason. It already starts to make you feel that kind of time-honored reverence, and it kind of cues you into a deeper state. I think we have a comment in the chat there, Ashrit. Love the music. I've grown so much in my subtle system. Indian classical music helps me grow in meditation journey, and it feels so special and joyful after hearing the sarod in this case. I feel peace within me. Well, those are profound words, Ashrit, and it's good to hear. Other people, if you have any comments on music and how it makes you feel, like Alan asked. I think I actually spoke with Srimataji about music many times, or she spoke with me, and one of the times in New York, in particular, was pretty profound. I was going to music school in New York, and she sort of had me kind of talk about pop music, and she agreed that pop music is good, and we talked about jazz, and she said that is good too. I love jazz. We talked about classical Western music, and then after talking about all these different types of music, she said, I always say all music is good, but if you listen to Indian classical music, then it's the best. And she raised her finger and said, because if you know Indian classical music, then you can understand all types of music. And those were profound words that I live really today. I benefit from that blessing today, because I'm able to play different types of music, or at least listen and understand different types of music within that context. And as I did today and showed, we played a Christmas carol, we played an Indian bhajan, and a Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, and it was all within the context of Indian classical music, a raga named Rag Darbari. So, and this is true of different ragas. If I played Rag Bhupali or a variation of Rag Bhupali, then I could play Let It Be and Amazing Grace, and they would all tie together. And so it's not only this raga that happens on.
Love to get these comments in the chat. So for those of you who know a little bit about Sahaja Yoga already, know that each of the chakras has certain qualities. It's associated with a color, certain physical things, a planet, numbers. Each chakra has different things. And now having a raga associated with each of the chakras is a whole new dimension to understand. And it's really just a mood, right? Steve? It sets a
Uh,
certain
mood,
feeling.
yeah, or color. Mood is a good word for raga. It does set a kind of a mood. And the thing is, if you think about the time of day, if you have morning time, morning is, if you get up early, you feel it's slower, and I say more somber, not in a bad way, not in a dark or horrible way, but it is more somber. Maybe before the sun comes up, you move slowly, and so a lot of the ragas have those black notes or darker notes, just because they conjure up a deeper sort of reflective quality within us, and it's very good to reflect in the mornings. Morning meditation is arguably the most important time. And then there can be an evening raga where things are a little bit more upbeat and a little bit more, less, if you know piano, not so many of the black notes in the piano. So the mood is very important, and musicians don't have to be fancy to be good musicians. I mean, Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones he's not like this virtuoso guitar player, but as he puts it himself, he knows how to set a mood. And if you study guitar like I do, and I teach guitar, you try to play something that a really great guitar player can play, and it's nothing. It's just these little subtle things they do, and they let certain strings ring and they mute other strings, and these very subtle things that happen allow for the mood to be created. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be virtuosic. It's just mastering the setting of the moods, and that is, to some extent, really the job of the musician, is to allow people to enjoy the mood of the moment and not take them into it in a deeper way. So that would be, raga would be the greatest or the deepest way to do that.
So last chance for anybody who'd like to ask a question
Looks
about
like
tonight's topic.
Mira. Mira says she agrees. Hi, Mira. Thanks for putting something in there. Cynthia's on the screen there. Thanks, Cynthia, or at least.
I think Steve might have frozen up for a second. So we've got a list of links on the chat for more information about Sahaj Yoga um, and more information about Steve's music. Steve, I think it looks, from my side, it looks like your video link is frozen for a moment, but if you can hear this, I think we're ready for the song at the end of this session. Okay, it looks like we're working on getting Steve back, but he's planning to play us one closing song to round out the session today. So as soon as he's ready, um, nice comment from Kathy. The session took me inside instantly without knowing that it was instant. Beautiful.
All right, so I'm back. It looks like I was meant to leave for a moment, and for whatever reason, I needed a moment to breather, I guess. So yeah, we like to finish with a song, and I have a song called. I teach songwriting, and we do something, and I don't mean to be too technical, but we do something in music called the circle of fifths. And it's a way of navigating around this crazy looking fretboard and being able to play up and down the fretboard by going up by what are called perfect intervals, perfect fifths, because they have a perfect harmony. A perfect is like twinkle, twinkle, little star. So it just has a perfect sound, a very kind of ethereal, celestial sound. And I've written a song that is based on some of these chords. And I won't say too much more technically about it, but that's that's about it. The Little Things. It's called The Little Things, and I think we're going to have some lyrics come up in the chat. I'm going to take just a second to pull them up myself and turn off my little timer because it's going to beep otherwise. So give me one moment. I'm just going to pull up the lyrics. Okay, well, as you can see, the lyrics are there. This song is about little things in life. I wrote it during the pandemic, and the little things in life that we take pleasure in. It was just particularly important during the pandemic, I think, because, we really didn't have what we normally had. We had to kind of, for instance, seeing loved ones there were certain loved ones we couldn't see, we couldn't go see them. And this is just a way to remember sort of these incredible moments in our life. So at the end of this song, as you can see where the mouse is, one of the memories I had at the time was jasmine in the air, fresh there in my soul, pure as gold, Mountain Dew. I sing it a bit different. Flowers, jasmine in the air, flowers everywhere. I remember the little things. Those are kind of things that meant a lot to me. I remember that smell of the jasmine and flowers everywhere, and the little things in life. Everybody's got a different memory. Some people love that moment when they were on a motorcycle and the wind was flowing in their hair. So you guys can think of a moment in life that is just very special to you. One time when I was 18, I got in the back. I was hitchhiking in Yugoslavia, and I got in the back of a farmer's motorcycle. And I'll never forget going down towards the ocean, towards the beach, that warm summer wind in my hair, and being 18 and just having the sense of freedom. And I had tears of joy in my eye. And I'll never forget that. That was a life-changing moment. So if you have a life-changing moment or just a little memory that you have that is very fond, a very fond memory, feel free to put it in the chat. One of them for me is jasmine in the air, flowers everywhere. I remember the little things. If I see it in the chat, I might even insert it in the song. But anyway, here you go.
We might have another glitch with the video, but after all that build-up, I really want to hear the song, so we'll hold on a moment or two. Okay, I guess Steve's working on getting back in. Nice memory from Ashrid. I remember seeing flowers everywhere at a garden. It brings me joy. I surrender my thoughts. That's beautiful. It's amazing how important scents are in our memories.
We'll try this again. I'm going to switch. I've switched my internet connection, and we'll try it again. Here we go. So fear not. I've switched my internet connection. We should be fine now. I think it was the different network. So here we go. Thanks. Sitting on a throne, shining like a pearl, looking at redemption time. Queen of all we know, queen of all the heavens, queen of love, so fine. Promises made are meant to keep. Sacred vows made in our sleep. Like the scars that make us weep. Rising up from the deep. I surrender. I give in. Remember the little things. The little things. Mystic like a rose, never fade away. Comfort in the last sundown. No one really knows the games that she's playing, where she'll go and how. Promises made are meant to keep. Sacred vows kept in our sleep. Like the scars that make us weep. Rising up from the deep. I surrender. And I give in. And remember. The little things. The little things. Jasmine in the air, flowers everywhere. And I remember the little things, making the big things. Alright, drinking midnight tea and laughing endlessly. And I remember the little things help make the big things. Alright, help us make the changes in our lives. Help us make the changes. Alright, help us make the changes. Alright, help us make the changes in our lives. Help us make the changes in our lives. Help us make the changes in our lives. Help us make the changes. All right.
Wow,
Well, I hope it works for you guys. Help make those big changes.
that was great. Thank you so much.
Oh, welcome.
And thank you, everybody, for participating this evening. It's not too late if you've got some comment or you want to put something about something you liked about in the music or meditation, or put it in the chat, and we'll roll it into the next session. Uh, but we've reached the end for tonight. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining.
And thank you for the team. I just wanted to say a big thanks for our Dallas based team, Meditate Anytime, Alan for hosting, Sham for the technical support, and Estella for the support in everything, preparing the program, getting all these texts you're seeing in the chat, and all those amazing things. We're going to be actually doing this show live in person from Dallas on the 11th and 12th of July. So look forward to that, guys. The next time we do this, we're coming at you live in person. So look forward to that from a Black Box Theater in Dallas.
Yeah. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thanks very much.